So welcome everybody who's just coming in. I went ahead and got started. I had no idea there was going to be a flood as soon as I did that. But I'm Beth Carroll, and we're rolling because I've got a lot to cover. Consider safety and risk implications of your plan. Are there unintended consequences? The obvious answer to this is yes. Okay, if you're paying drivers or workers for doing things more quickly, and you don't have any kind of a mechanism in there to put the brakes on that if they are being unsafe, then yes, you are obviously running some safety risks there. So this is the balance thing. So incentive compensation is a constrained optimization problem. For every gain, there is a loss, right? Company B that was more efficient is also going to have higher turnover, because they're going to be people who aren't going to make it in that system when they're being paid based on their productivity. They probably also are going to have higher workers' compensation, workers' injury claims, right? So they're going to have more safety claims, things like that, because they are pushing people to do more quicker. So you have to think about that in terms of the balance. If you want high payout, you're going to give up a little bit in terms of company profits. So if your company decides they want to be at the 75th percentile of the market, then they are probably not going to have as much profitability, at least not initially. Maybe over time they will, right? Because the theory on that would be you would be reducing your turnover, you'd be keeping people longer, you'd be gaining from that experience. They would be more efficient because they've got more experience, and you wouldn't have to spend as much on recruiting costs. So over time you're going to gain that, but initially you're going to lose it. For high individual motivation, you may lose some teamwork. Anybody experience workers out there sabotaging each other? Is that anything that happens? In a high productivity, I heard yes. In high productivity environments, you can have that happen, right? Because they want to make sure, especially if you're doing anything on a stacked ranking, right? If you've got any sort of a stacked ranking out there and you're measuring people against each other, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out I win if I can make everybody else lose, right? And I stay at the top of a bad pile. That's not what you want to have happen, right? So you have to think about that balance in terms of, can you get people to have that individual motivation without trying to sabotage their fellow workers? Financial versus strategic, right? There's various things that you need them to do. Some of them are very customer-centric type things that may not have an immediate financial impact, but that will help you retain your customers in your business and help you grow into the future. So you want to make sure you're thinking not just about short-term productivity, but also are you driving your employees to do something that might actually harm your long-term customer relationship? And that's where accuracy and that kind of stuff comes into play. It's not so much about speed, they've also got to be accurate or your customers are going to get ticked off because they've gotten all the wrong things. So for every gain, there is a loss. There is no magic answer to this. There's no one way that you do it. Everybody always wants to know, so how does Amazon do it? Or how does, whoever the leading person in the market is. There is no one right way, and I would also say be very, very careful of trying to imitate somebody else. Just because somebody else has a good plan, that doesn't mean it's going to work in your organization. I see this a ton. People from operations move from one company to another company and they say, well, we have this fantastic incentive program at my other company and we want to put it in place here. It may not work. The company may not be ready for it. The IT may not be able to handle it. Culturally, it may just be very different for what that organization is used to. So you have to be very careful that you're not thinking you can just find a magic answer. It's not a magic bean, right? You can't just plant it in the ground and it's going to grow. You really have to think about it in terms of the whole context.